It's early. Okay, morning guys. Sorry it's dark. It's obviously early. It's just after 6. Not much I can do about that really. Driving to the squadron. I've got 3 trips today, so I want to sort of talk to you about what that actually means. Okay, so the first trip I learned last night was going to be cancelled. One of the guys went sick. So I'm going to go in and try and take an aeroplane, go and fly some instrument flying, maybe go to Liverpool, Isle of Man, something like that. See if I can get a few approaches in. You need a few instrument approaches and you need instrument time to make up the time and the approaches that you need for currency pretty much. So I'm going to see if I can get that this morning. My second trip is second trip is going to be an inverted flight check. Obviously someone's lost something in the aeroplane. We're going to take the jet up, turn it upside down. If we find it, we can go and do something constructive with that sortie. If we don't, we'll bring the jet back and they may have to take the seats out to find whatever it was. I don't know what it was or what it is. It's just sort of the program. The third trip I've got then, there's an air combat maneuvering sortie going. ACM 1, I think of about 7 trips in ACM. So ACM 1, I'm the bad guy. We're going to go up there and we're going to do some rolling scissors, some flat scissors, high aspect bracket, some stuff that probably won't mean a lot to you, but it's how we present a pair of aircraft to fight a single airplane. So I'm going to do that, just letting you know. Sorry I can't drive with the light on, I'm not really allowed to do that, so just letting you know what's going to happen today. Thought you might be interested, and it is early. So I was up at 5:30, get a morning routine going on because you need that when you're up at these kind of times. And so for me, that is get up, I've got everything laid out ready to go. So I made lunch the night before, and then basically I'm just making some I have 3 eggs scrambled in the morning with some pepper. That lasts me till lunchtime plus if I need to. And a cup of tea, maybe take a cup of tea with you. And pretty much that's it. Just get up, shower, shave, breakfast, on the road. It feels early because it is. Okay, welcome back. It's another Ask FJP, except a little bit different this time. Why would it not be different? It's only episode 3. But I've flown 3 trips today, and I figured you guys probably want to know a little bit about those trips, seeing it's been quite a long day. I'll pretty much talk you through my day. So these are the domestics here, and we fly with these things. A line-up card, if you will, gives us all the data we need for the flight, and we obviously annotate on those as well things that we need to either debrief the student with, or just as air traffic awareness information, we might jot that down. And I'll talk a little bit about that later as well when I get back home. I might add that onto this. So 3 trips today. What has my day been like then? It's been pretty tiring. Of course it has. Why would it not be? It started just after 5. I got up, grab a shower, shave, that kind of stuff, and then I've got some pets that I feed, a couple of rabbits, gremlins. They are gremlins. If you feed rabbits after midnight, you'll see what happens. So yeah, fed my gremlins, and then made breakfast. I always have 3 scrambled eggs with pepper, cup of tea. That's it. Pretty simple. Got in the car and drove to work. Straight to work. Got to work for a Met brief at about 6:30, and I knew my trip this morning had changed, my first trip, because it was going to be what's called an A2B2, which is where a senior instructor takes a junior instructor and just gives them some guidance and gets them airborne and just watches their patter and how they teach students. So the senior instructor pretends to be the student, and the junior instructor in the back seat then goes through his patter. However, last night got a call. Well, actually, that came through on some kind of social media thing that we all on. I can't tell you what we're on. However, you can imagine, yeah, our Snapchat group, whatever it is. We're not on Snapchat. But either way, some information came my way that stated that the younger instructor, the more inexperienced instructor, was ill, wasn't going to be able to come in today. So it meant that I had an opportunity to use that aeroplane for something else. And because I'm part-time, I decided I'd come to the squadron anyway, very early on, see if I can get that jet and go and do some instrument flying time, because we do have to have a certain amount of instrument flying hours every month. I know it's going to get dark, it's late now guys, I'm sorry about this. It's about 7:30 in the evening. So I was in work just after 6, I'm leaving at 7:30 in the evening. Sometimes days are long, that's why they pay us the big money. They don't pay us the big money. They don't pay us. Okay, so what happened? So I basically went in there, asked can I take this jet. Of course you can take the jet. I then had a brief plan, did some reading, got airborne, flew a standard instrument departure out of Valley into Liverpool, which is about 50 miles away, I think it is. Is that right? Probably a bit more than that, actually, to tell you the truth. And as the crow flies, at about 3,000 feet, headed out to east. I went and did a radar to ILS on the runway 27, which I overshot. I can't roll there because I'm too heavy on fuel. I've got to have less than 900 kilograms of fuel on my airplane to roll, and I start off with 1,600 kilograms, so I didn't burn off that on the way there. Overshot, went down the Mersey, 500 feet, about 300 knots, past some apartment buildings, and then what's called special VFR, and then egress to the west over the wind turbines that they're putting out into that part of the sea there, north of the Welsh coast. Into the tack and hold. This is where a nightmare starts, and I did a tack and to tack approach onto runway 01, very short runway, very quick procedure. Overshot that into 2 SRAs, surveillance radar approaches, where you get torqued down and then land off that after about an hour 15. Quick turnaround then. Got out my flight suit, all of my G pants and everything, so I always try and do that. Grabbed a cup of tea, plan for the next sortie, which was a basic radar 7. So it's the first airborne sortie for the basic radar syllabus for the B flight student, and that guy is on what's called a stern PI, so stern practice intercept. So if you were an airliner, for example, and you'd lost comms, you'd be flying along, this guy, when he goes on a typhoon, a student, he'd come along and perform this procedure, which is flown the same way that the typhoons fly it, and end up at about 1.5 to 2 mile in your stern. And then that will allow him then, because of the radar he's using, to drive himself in to just a couple of hundred meters, because they were simulating that he would be in instrument met conditions, so in cloud or at night, and he'll be able to identify the aircraft from the procedure he's flown. Relatively complicated procedure actually to fly. My student did quite well today. We did 2 runs each. We fly as a pair on that, so me and my student, and then one of my buddies and his student, and we swap around. One pretends to be the airliner, one pretends to be the intercepting aircraft, and we teach that. Good sortie then, come back, brake circuit, land. Right, then I grabbed some lunch at about 3 o'clock for about 10 minutes, quite lucky really. Sometimes you don't get lunch. And then I'm bouncing an ACM, an air combat manoeuvring sortie for a couple of international students. Guy jumps in the back seat, Saudi guy, lovely bloke, comes and have a bit of a look, really, bit of a freebie. We give back seats out to all the students to increase their situation awareness, and so they can look ahead in the course. This guy wasn't on ACM, he was on an earlier phase, so he jumped in to see what kind of phase he was going to walk up against. We're going to get an ACM 1 done, which is flat scissors, rolling scissors, and then something called a high aspect bracket, and I'll try at some point draw those profiles so you get a better idea of what I'm talking about. Probably doesn't mean anything, but it's 2 aircraft versus 1. I'm the bad aircraft, I'm the red aircraft, and the 2 students with their 2 instructors are the good aircraft. So what I had to do was set it all up, make sure that I'm in the right place, the right time, the right speed, the right height. It's actually quite a complicated profile, which is why they just get the senior guys to do it. But on climbing out, we have to turn the jets upside down to check for any loose articles. You could argue if we didn't check, we wouldn't find any. Yeah, I get that. Some air forces don't check. But on turning the jets upside down, the number 2 aircraft did find the loose article. It was one of the controllers that come off what's called a standby navigation controller panel. It's very rare. We don't get many loose articles in the jet. Came off. Obviously, it lived down behind the ejection seat somewhere, so you can never get to it. And because we couldn't get to it, he had to take his jet back for a straighten approach. So then it's just myself and the other pilot in the other jet, and so we did some basic fighting maneuvers for the student in the other jet. I couldn't let my student do any flying because it wasn't his sortie, so it's not fair on the other student to let my student, who's only there for a backseat anyway, to fly those profiles. So I fought against the other student, and I gave him some leeway, obviously, as you do, and tried to do some things like fly through, low no stealth separation, all these kind of things which he could reverse on and capitalize on, and try and weaponeer against my aircraft, which he did quite well actually. Again, an international student, doing very well through this course. He's been in the country for some time now. Lovely guy. So that was good to see them. And then a bit of staff hands at the end, where I fought the other instructor, who's got an AD background from exchange on the F-18. But the thing about our airplane, it's not like an F-18. The Hawk's quite heavy, and I had missiles on today as well. There's a bounce aircraft. You normally wouldn't have missiles, so they're a bit more manoeuvrable, whereas the other 2 aircraft would have these acquisition missiles on, and I had missiles on today. So how you handle the Hawk T2, or the Hawk T1 in fact, when she's heavy, is very nuanced. It's very light. It's very easy to get the nose into the heavy buffet, which is where the wing is not max performing. So you need to just be a little bit careful of what you're doing. You need to remember that she hasn't exactly got the nose authority of an F-18 or of a Typhoon, So you just need to be a little bit careful on how you handle the aircraft. Right, what I'm going to do now, guys, I'm just going to get rid of you because I don't love you anymore. That's not true, of course. I'm going to get home and see whether I can get some of these notes up here and explain them to you a little bit about the day. So there's 3 trips then. So my instrument trip this morning, then the basic radar 7 trip, first airborne sortie. The rest of the sorties the student does are synthetic, all simulator based prior to that. And then the last sortie where I'm bouncing some air combat. I'll try and get you the domestics just so you can have a quick look. All right, no worries. Yeah, sorry I'm using this poor camera at the moment, but my other camera, I don't know what the hell it is. Right, this is a lineup card as it is. I've got like a laser pointer here just to go through some stuff with you. So this is what we fly with on one of the sorties. This is the first sortie this morning. The other sorties, I've got some notes on them as well, but they were really more to do with the pairs work we were doing. But this is obviously how my mind was very early on, about 8:20 this morning, flying to Liverpool, doing disciplines. Really, I'm not overly, probably should be better at doing them than I am. Let's look at the top here though. So here, Big Jank Tango, my call sign 61. This is me here, Davies. This would be what aircraft I was in. I haven't filled that in, and the stores configuration number as well. This is the TACAN at Valley, which is 21 X-ray. Stores configuration number is if you fly on a 7, you haven't got the Aqua Precision missiles on the wings. If you fly on a 9, you have both of those stores have tanks on. The rest of the stuff here we don't use, but this is my sanctuary, which is called safety altitude day. And if I was flying with a pair, then we'd probably split that between us, odds and evens, or as it is. This fog here, fuel on ground, is 190. When I land my airplane, I need 190 kilograms in it. Now, that is incorrect today, because what I did actually start off having was hardened VFR. So I've crossed Mona out, which is our release field. When I planned the sortie, I thought I was going to get that. And Harden is an airfield up near Chester, and VFR means I can approach it without using instruments. So that was going to be 280 kilograms I'd need to leave Valley with to land at Harden with about 130 before my engine actually flames out. And a plus 80 on that means that back at Valley I was going to have to carry fuel for radar because the weather was closing in. So I might need a radar pattern. I might need to carry that fuel. Total fuel there about 360. Then as I taxied out, we got rid of that 80 and we just said it's going to be Harden VFR, which meant all I need to carry. All I need to get back here with was 280. Now I'm getting airborne with 1600. Joker 1, 2 and 3 all relate to something in my sortie, 1100, 800 and 600. And as a pair, I would need to call those figures so that my flight lead knew how I was getting on. Bingo is a way that I can calculate how to get back home. And in this condition, that's probably incorrect, really. It is incorrect for Harden. For Harden, I probably need something like 300. Add 20 onto that for a circuit, maybe. So 300 plus twice my range, and that would be the figure, range from Valley, that I'd need to get home. This is a bit complicated, guys. Stay with me. Good, guys. Right, here we go. This is airfield information then. Runway 01, Charlie. Kept changing as I was crewing in. QFE 1023, QNH 1019. Pressure settings for the airfield that I'm obviously going to be getting airborne from. As I get airborne, and I start flying over to, where am I going? Liverpool. Runway 27, radar vectors in there, and I know their ILS freak is 111.75, and I've written that on my kneeboard here, and also their QDM, so what I need to fly down the localizer on is 267. I went in there was an EasyJet flight in front of me, and some other passenger flight coming behind me. So that's dash 85, that's I can steer to them on something called RNAV, reversion navigation. So I put that in as a destination as well, and I just went go to basically stud 85 in, or destination 85, waypoint 85, sorry, in our kit, and that takes me straight there. 11985, that's their zone freak that I was on as I came out, and these bits down here are just some overshoot details there. That was a Squawk 3761. Back to Valley then, I did an approach at the TACAN hold, and this stud 6, 2,000 feet runway track is my overshoot clearance back there, so I had to read that back. And what we do is we read it back and then we might write it down if I was going to forget that. And here is that's called a cockpit audio recorder. This thing, I had a failure in the airplane. It told me you've got a cockpit audio recorder failure and 8,000, which I had to take in, tell the engineers. This bit here is obviously my flight time, 0820 for 110, but that's in Zulu, so really it's 0820, not 0720. It's in local. And then what I did in that trip was an ILS attack and approach, 2 times SRAs, and 30 minutes actual IF where I actually sat in a cloud. Other information on here then, we've got some speeds. I take off 3/4 flap on the short runway at the moment. These are intermediate braking speed is the speed that I can land at on runway 01, which is dry. These are the fuel states I need, so I can only land on runway 01 if I have below 1090 or 838 kilograms, depending on what stores fit I was. I think I was 7 this morning, so I'd have to get below 1100 kilograms to actually put the jet back onto runway 01 without the risk of running out of all the energy in my brakes. We're only on single runway operations at Valley at the moment because the long runway is being rebuilt. So my barrier speed there, 01, is 66 knots. I can go into that barrier at 66 knots. However, with 1,000 feet to go, I need to add on some math, and that is normally the headwind. So I'd add on 7 knots of, well, it's only 7 knots there, headwind of 6 knots. And we do this roughly, guys. I'd add on 5 knots. I'd make it 70, and then I'd add another 10 on for the distance I'm going to cover until the barrier. So if I reach 1,000 foot to go before the barrier, there's a little board there with 1,000, and I'm doing more than about 80 knots, then I need to, and I'm not slowing down, and the brake parachute hasn't come out, I need to eject. Look, a lot of information, guys. A lot of information. We don't have to cover it all now. Now we can just take it one step at a time. Either way, this is my brain going into Liverpool with lots of airliners. Not the neatest handwriting, I do apologise. Thanks for watching, guys. Really appreciate it. I'll answer your questions in the next one. I promise.
Rock music, rock music.